Today on Inspired Money.
Being able to do business, people need to know you, and then hopefully they get to like you, and then they get to trust you. Those are people you do business with. Most people don't do business on a long-term basis with strangers or people they don't like. You break it down, you're dealing with humans.
This is episode 4 with President and CEO of the New York and New Jersey Minority Supplier Development Council, Terrence Clark. Welcome to Inspired Money. My name is Andy Wong, a managing partner at Runnymede Capital Management. Each week we bring you an interesting person to help you get inspired, shift your perspectives on money, and achieve incredible things. From making it to giving it away, Inspired Money means making a difference, creating something bigger than oneself, and maybe, just maybe, making the world a better place. Thank you for joining me. As America's population becomes more diverse, so does its business sector. According to the Census Bureau, the number of minority-owned businesses increased 39% between 2007 and 2012. That's more than 3 times faster than population growth among minorities. Today we talk to Terrence Clark, President and CEO of the New York and New Jersey Minority Supplier Development Council, a 501c3 not-for-profit organization founded in 1973. The council brings together more than 900 certified minority-owned businesses and more than 120 corporate members for new business opportunities. Terrence's 30-year career has been dedicated to helping entrepreneurs. He graduated from Hunter College with a BA in economics. He started his career at the United States Small Business Administration. Terrence was executive director of the 47th Street Business Improvement District for 9 years, assisting 2,600 business owners in New York's Diamond District to improve economic conditions and market its services to a wider client base. Prior to joining the council in 2015, he served as vice president of entrepreneurship and business development for the National Urban League. I think you'll find that we cover a lot of valuable information in this interview. Now let's get inspired with Terrence Clark. Well, welcome, Terrence Clark. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the show today.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Andrew.
Let's jump right in with the first question. What is your earliest childhood memory of money?
Probably my earliest childhood memory of money was listening to my parents talk about the salaries they made, and primarily the fact that they always felt that they were underpaid, which kind of made things a little difficult as far as being able to take care of the necessities that we had going on in our household. As I got a bit older, and I started working when I was 14, while I was in high school, part-time as a foot messenger. It allowed me to be able to have some money that, I could take care of some things I wanted to take care of for myself, and also at the same time be able to contribute to the finances of the household.
Mm-hmm. And where did you grow up? Where was that?
I grew up in the East New York section of Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, so you're a real local.
Yes, I am. I was born in the Boulevard Houses, which is a public housing project in East New York. Mm-hmm. I lived there for the first about 20 years of my life.
When you graduated from college, or when you went off to school, mm-hmm. Did you know what you wanted to do?
Well, I guess I was very fortunate. Midway in college, a woman who I'll never forget, Mrs. Mildred Stewart, introduced me to the co-op program, and it was a program where you work one semester and go to school one semester. And she was able to connect me with the U.S. Small Business Administration. So at that time, I began to learn about small business and small business finances and management and technical assistance. And that is basically how I started my career. And I was probably a sophomore, I'm thinking now. But I learned about, what a small business was because my parents worked for somebody else, so I really wasn't connected to business per se. And secondly, I learned, what aspects of management, finance, and the like are necessary to run a successful business. And I worked for the Small Business Administration the last 2 years of my college education, and then 5 years afterwards.
So very interesting. Even as a student, you were already exposed to small businesses and seeing some of the challenges that they face. I guess really in an active role in trying to figure out how you can help them, correct?
Exactly. I was in the division that I was in was called management assistance. So a lot of what I did was learn, and over the course of time, be able to provide assistance to business owners in various management areas: marketing, human resource development, finance, and accounting. These are things that, as I went on and read more, and I began to changed my major actually. When I initially started college, I was a biology major, and after I got this job, I changed it from biology to economics, and I took a number of courses in business management and business administration, and it was those courses along with the work that I was doing that kind of propelled me into what I do today.
Yeah, and I see that you have 30 years experience advocating for small businesses, entrepreneurs, and minority-owned businesses. What motivates you to help these organizations and individuals?
I think probably several things. One is I think I have a really kind of unique understanding of what it takes to run a business. Having tried a couple of times myself, and also having the experience of dealing a lot with business owners. That's probably one major part of it. The second part is it's always kind of been my nature to help people. And from the time I can remember, it's always been my nature to help where I could help. So, this was kind of a natural thing for me to do. It fits within, who I am as a person, and it makes me feel good. And I always feel that if you have a job, you should enjoy it. Otherwise, it becomes drudgery. And this, to me, is not drudgery. I enjoy this a lot. I enjoy seeing people get contract opportunities. I enjoy seeing our corporate members be able to achieve their goals from a supplier diversity standpoint. So I enjoy what I do, and I think that helps me, not only get through doing it, but also helps me think of different ways and things that I can do to help both areas of our constituency.
Yeah, let's talk about minority-owned businesses. And I think by definition, they're the businesses owned by African Americans, Latinos, Asians, and Pacific Islanders, American Indians, and Alaska Natives. And I know that they make a substantial contribution to the U.S. economy. I saw one study dating back to 2002 that said that the growth rates for minority business enterprises, and that's in terms of total number, employment, and gross receipts, far outpaced those of non-minority-owned businesses. Can you paint a picture of what you see in New York and New Jersey today?
You have a lot of minority-owned businesses. You have a lot of small ones also. Unfortunately, a lot of these businesses are businesses that are one-person operations, which one thing is difficult in that area is the fact that being able to scale the business is more difficult when you're one person, because you end up being the person who does the work, gets the work, does the books, pays the taxes, and it's a lot for one person to do. You see a lot more people doing it. I think a lot of it has to do with, the several things. One, the ability to have an idea and see that idea go to market. I think that initiates a lot of people into being able to start and operate their own business. I think the second thing is feeling that your own self-worth is more fulfilled being your own running your own business versus working for somebody else. Even though, right now the unemployment rate is 4.3% or something like that. In most communities of color, it's usually somewhere in the teens and in some cases in the 20s. So even, going out and trying to find a job, is difficult for a lot of people. You need certain specific skills. There are still certain biases that obviously go on in this society that makes getting a job a little more difficult if you're a person of color. So an alternative is being able to take your idea and see if your idea can work in the marketplace. And you see a lot more of that. And as you walk, our office is in Manhattan. You walk the streets of Manhattan and you look, and you see a lot of people sitting in various coffee shops and the like, doing business. Because a lot of people now, it's much easier. You don't need a brick and mortar facility in a lot of cases. You need your cell phone, your tablet or computer. And a lot of people are able to see, hey, maybe this is something I could do. And for a lot of people, it starts as, a second business or what is, commonly called a side hustle. And it moves from that side hustle to, hey, I can do this full time if you start to see you're getting some traction. So I see that as one of the major trends here in the New York area, as you have a lot of people here. You have a variety of different markets and a variety of people who have a lot of different talents.
Yeah, certainly technology has removed some of the barriers. Like you said, you can set up shop in a coffee shop and have your office and use your smarts to figure out opportunities to create and build a business, which would have been much harder before.
Oh, most certainly. I think people, now people are much more innovative. There are certainly more tools that allow you to be innovative. And I think that a lot of people are figuring, hey, if I see somebody else making money, how come that can't be me? And I think that's what moves a lot of people toward either starting or trying to expand on a business idea. Now, at the same point in time, running a business is not easy. And if the major reason that you're running it is to say I'm the boss, that's probably a bad reason to run it. What really you have to find out is there a market for my product or service? And then the second part of it is, how do I get to that market? And how do I price my service or product where somebody's going to pay for it? Because, a lot of people have great ideas, but a great idea isn't anything more than a great idea unless somebody pays for it.
In your opinion, what's the biggest challenge that minority business enterprises face? And what are the problems that the New York, New Jersey Minority Supplier Development Council is trying to solve?
Two areas, I would say. One is access to opportunities. Being in the room, knowing where the opportunities are, having the information up front, not at the back end, so that you can participate in opportunities, be it in the private or the public sector. That's probably the major thing that we look at, and that's why we do a lot of things that relate to matchmaking and trying to bring people together. I always tell people that we're in the relationship business. We try to help people develop relationships so that they can begin to do business with people they don't know. Because one of the things people generally do business, people do business with folks that they know, that they like, and that they trust. And we try to at least get the know part. People get to know who you are. That's where that's one of the things that we look at. The second part, of course, is access to capital. And it's not just access to capital, but it's access to affordable capital. There's a lot of money running around and a lot of different ways you can finance a business if you want. But, the thing is, are you financing something that is too expensive for you to pay for, to to be able to pay back, and that's something that a lot of our clients have issues with. How to get affordable money, whether that affordable money comes from a commercial bank or an alternative lender, those types of things. A lot of the smaller businesses, and probably those that have grown, have either used their own personal finances or financed it, via credit card or, those types of things. And a lot of times, if you're doing something, for instance, via a credit card, you're doing it at a fairly high interest rate. So we try to provide folks with, alternatives that they can look at that hopefully are affordable and things that will allow them to continue to grow their businesses and at the same point in time repay whatever financial obligations they may have.
So when you came into the council 2 years ago, what opportunities did you identify? And you've put quite a number of things into action. Can you talk about some of those things?
Sure. One of the first things that I did when I came to the council in 2015 was to talk to our suppliers and to talk to our corporate members and find out what's missing. What is it that you're looking for from the council that makes you either, as a supplier, certify and recertify, and as a corporate member, become a corporate member of long standing? And one of the things that I noticed is that there weren't enough events that went on where people were able to directly meet with each other, and also developing the skills of our suppliers so they're what I call procurement ready. And procurement ready basically is that your financial side of your business is in order, your product side is in order, so the front and back house of your business are both in order. And if an opportunity comes up, you're able to respond to it, and if you're successful, you're able to then implement and take care of whatever that particular project is. So we began to develop specific programs around building business skills. We also looked at the same time, for our corporate members, programs that allowed them to enhance their supplier diversity operations in their particular corporations, and just really to kind of bring people together, be very upfront and honest as to what certification is and what certification is not, so that we didn't have people who were coming and thinking, gee, I got certified today, July 6th, and on July 7th I should be getting a contract. So I tried to bring more reality into it, but at the same time try to intentionally bring people together, not only just connecting our corporate members and our MBEs, but also connecting our MBEs with MBEs. Because a lot of times, one of the things that people, especially for the smaller ones, they talk about is capacity. And a way to be able to build capacity is to be able to connect with somebody who may have, you may have A and B, when they have C and D, and you bring it together, you got A, B, C, and D. So it's those kinds of things, putting those types of programs into effect. We cover the entire state of New York. We cover New Jersey up to the state capital of Trenton. So beginning to do more things upstate in New York and also in New Jersey, so that people do not look at the council as a New York City or Manhattan-centric operation. And then sitting down and talking to people, finding out what it is they need, and then trying to figure out how to be able to deliver it. Those are generally the things that I put together. This changing of our expo from just kind of like going into booths and talking to people versus more direct interaction with our corporate members. One day in our our exchange last week, corporate members were able to select the MBEs they wanted to talk to. The other day, MBEs were able to select the corporations they wanted to talk to. And people walked away with more meaningful conversations than you go to a booth and you get a card and you get whatever little handouts and gadgets they have, and you come away with a bag full of stuff like you went shopping, but you didn't come away with anything that's going to really help your business.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you certainly are in the business of connecting people.
Right. And and see, when you had the expos, the traditional expo, it's they bring out the stress ball and a bunch of pens and pads and stuff, which is all well, good and fine, except that's not why you're there. You're there hopefully to develop or enhance a relationship that's going to allow your business to grow. And the corporate members are there hopefully to be able to meet minority business owners that are going to be positioned to enter their supply chain. So we figured take out the schlock and all the gifts and stuff, and let's just get to the point. Let's talk about what's available and what you need to have as a business profile to be able to access what's available. And I think people feel much better about those types of things versus going to something where you go there, you spend 5-6 hours, you come away with a whole bunch of stuff that you probably put in your office and forget about, and you then say, well, why did I go to this?
I heard you once say that success depends on who you know and who knows you. So you're really trying to foster those person-to-person connections.
Exactly. As I said before, being able to do business, people need to know you, and then hopefully they get to like you, and then they get to trust you. Those are people you do business with. Most people don't do business on a long-term basis with strangers or people they don't like. You break it down, you're dealing with humans. Whatever system they have, they're dealing with humans.
Terrence, was that evident to you when you were at the Small Business Administration as a student, or is that something that you saw over time? Because I think it's easy for one to think that, okay, if I'm technically good at a specific job, people will find me. And I think that that's not the reality.
No, it is not. It's something that I picked up, over time. As my career progressed and I was put in, different situations, you can kind of see, what works. At the same point in time, you can see what doesn't work. And I think as I grew in this career, I was able to look at things that really seemed to help people, and then things that were just kind of helping people in name only, but not really helping people from a standpoint of moving their business or agenda forward. So I over the course of doing this type of work, for 30 years, I was able to kind of see what seemed to make sense to me, and then I got I have a good crew of people here who were able to initiate some of the things that I had brought up and put out.
That makes a lot of sense. In my opinion, business owners are doing more than simply trying to make a profit. Companies can create jobs, and they have the potential to lift up communities. In your career, you've seen a lot of businesses. I'm wondering, since our show is called Inspired Money, what does inspired money mean to you? And can you share a real success story?
Well, inspired money means to me that you're able to develop, and let's just use a business as an example. You're able to develop a business that will grow and employ people in your community and employ them in a manner where they're able to take care of themselves and their families. I mean, that's what develops a community. If you have a business, and I have a few that have been able to grow and pay people what I call a living wage, which allows you to put a little money in the bank to carry your obligations and move your own personal life and the life of your family forward. That is a business that is going to be a key part of any community that it's in. When I worked for the Urban League, a lot of what we did had to do with job creation, because it's jobs really that help either revitalize or help stabilize a community. When people have a job, and a job that pays them well and that they like, generally they feel good about themselves, and it helps develop their family. On the reverse side, if you don't have that, then you're going to have communities that are going to have issues and problems because, we live in a country where people need money, and they're going to get it one way or another. Either they're going to get it by doing something that's positive or, unfortunately, sometimes doing something that's not. But when you have businesses that are in a position where they can grow and they can become part of the community and employ people in the community, and minority-owned businesses tend to employ minorities at a higher rate than non-minority-owned businesses. It's those kinds of things that build communities, build businesses, and build the economy.
Yeah, absolutely.
The more people that are more people that are employed pay taxes, and taxes will go to services that help communities. So it kind of all comes in a circle, but a major part of it is having businesses that are in a position to help to hire and help those in the community. And how that happens basically is a well-run business with a good product or service that has a good market potential and a business owner or team that has been able to tap into that market successfully and continue to grow the business.
Yeah, it sounds like you see job creation as a central part of that.
Yes, I do.
You are indeed impacting people's lives and their families' lives, and you're empowering people.
Yes, and I think that's very important. Like I say, if people have a position, or whether it's owning a business or working for somebody else, and you feel comfortable and good about it, people do better when whatever it is they do for a living, they enjoy. And it pays them what they feel they should be paid versus going to a job because you have to go. Or even running a business because this is all you know how to do, but it's not what you want to do. It's those kinds of things that I think are very key and important to the continued community growth and economic development of not only the minority business community, but of this country, as the population continues to move away from what it was 40, 50 years ago.
Can we take a step back? You had mentioned that you've seen a lot of businesses and you've seen what works and what doesn't work. I'm wondering, what are the ingredients that you see among the leaders who can scale their businesses?
Well, I think one of the major ingredients is recognizing what the market for your product or service is, and recognizing how to penetrate that market. Once you've kind of determined this is where my market is, this is what I need to do to penetrate it, and what is the next thing I need to do to get further into that market, that's usually where you're on your way to bigger and better things. But it's that market attainability, and then being able to penetrate the market, and of course successfully provide whatever product or service it is that you're providing at a cost where somebody's going to be able to pay for it. What are our corporate members generally look for? They look for somebody who can innovate, look for somebody who's either going to save or make them money. And if you're going to join their supply chain, you have to be one of those people. You have to be a person who's not talking about what I can do for you now, but what I can do for you maybe 2018, 2019. So you got to be a visionary also. So now that I'm in this market, what are people going to need 2 years from now? And that means you got to have somebody that's astute and somebody that does some research. And where a lot of people don't fall down on the job is the research part. They believe that I have to be bothered with doing research, but you do, and you can. And now it's a lot easier to do research than it was, years ago when I first started doing this, because now you have the internet. I mean, you can Google, Bing, or whatever it is, whatever search engine you use, and find most of the information you want pretty easily. Where years ago it was a lot more difficult to find it.
That's for sure. We have We have access to so much information now that sometimes the problem is sifting or filtering through too much information to really get to what's useful.
But you've got to spend the time doing it. You can't. What I always tell folks is you can't believe or you can't think just because I'm a minority-owned business I'm owed this, because you're not. It's an open marketplace for the most part, and you've got to show that you not only belong in it, that you can excel in it, and that's hard work.
In addition to having a plan and really a long-term vision, because it is a long game, it's not just creating an overnight success, right? It takes a lot of time, effort, thinking.
Right.
But the firms who have been able to grow from, I think you guys have, level 1 and then moving up to level 4. What do you see those leaders doing?
Right.
How are they best taking advantage of the council and opening up new opportunities?
Certainly. One of the things that they look at, and I think they make sure they're visible. They go to events. They go to industry meetings. They get out and meet people. And they talk about what they do, and they're very good at talking about what they do. And that's part one. Part two is having the right management team. Being able to have, because you can't do everything and you can't know everything. So you got to have people that know things that you don't and that you trust, who can make sure that your finances are proper. Make sure that you're marketing yourself in the proper way. Innovate the products and services that you offer so that you're at the top of the food chain market-wise. That's what they do. But I think one of the major things that people do that are really moving up and forward, they make sure that when meetings come up, they're there, especially meetings that they feel are going to be beneficial to their business, or there's something they're going to learn about, either a market they're looking to enter or the market or the industry that they're in, that information they need to know to move their business forward. I think those are probably the biggest things. And then the third thing, of course, is being able to manage your finances. Because a lot of times it's not how much money you have, it's how you manage the money you do have. Because you can go out of business, as we've seen, or go into bankruptcy and have revenue of $100 million. The same way you can go out of business and have revenue of $5,000. It's the management of money and making sure that if that's not what your strong suit is, that you have somebody who can take care of that for you and that you understand what it is that they do. And I always use the example of your tax returns. There's that little line above where you sign that says that all the information above this you agree is true. And everybody signs. Most people sign their tax returns. I'm not sure how many people read the little line that says, the information above this line is true. A lot of people don't know whether it is or it isn't.
That's great advice. So I hear visibility is important, having the right people on the bus, and then managing your finances, because the numbers have to back up all the other things that you're doing. That's like the report card.
Yes. Exactly.
Does that lead us to mistakes that you see entrepreneurs making? Any comments on specific things to avoid?
Well, I think one of the biggest things to avoid is making sure that you get accurate information. To me, one thing, especially when you're small, a lot of people get information about different programs or industry information from the wrong folks. I always said no information is better than bad information. So making sure that you're getting if you want to do business, for example, with the state of New York or the city of New York, it makes sense to get information from the city of New York and the state of New York directly versus getting it from somebody who doesn't work for them. Because more times than none, what you're getting is somebody's interpretation of what a particular program or service is that may be beneficial to you or may not. But a lot of people get information like that because one thing about entrepreneurship, and especially when you're small, you're kind of on an island. There's not like if you're a one or two person operation, especially if you're a one person operation, a lot of times you don't have anybody to talk to. So you're getting your information through, the grapevine or maybe stuff you saw on television or something like that, instead of a lot of times getting it directly, as I say, from the horse's mouth. So I think that's probably the thing that bedevils most folks. And the other part of it is making sure there's actually a market for your product, a market that not only that you can verify, but that you have the ability to penetrate. Because as I said, I think earlier, an idea is great, but it's only an idea till somebody is willing to pay for it. Then it becomes a business. And a lot of people they may have wonderful, or they may believe their ideas are very, very sound and wonderful, but it doesn't mean a whole lot if somebody's not willing to exchange capital for it or thinks it has a value and may think it has the same value that you believe it has. So it's probably those two things I would say, as far as pitfalls.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you sharing both the positive tips and then also the things to avoid. Terrence, what do you see for the future of the council? What does it look like 5 years from now?
Well, I think 5 years from now, or as we move forward, we're going to get more into being able to provide technical assistance. I think that is a very, very important thing. It's not just here's your certification, thank you and bye, but I think making sure that we, especially with the smaller suppliers, provide them the type of technical assistance they need to be able to run their businesses effectively and efficiently. I think that's probably a thing that our council and the councils probably across the country need to look at more, because I think that really helps these businesses grow versus just saying here's your certification and here's our list of corporate members. But preparing people to do business and making sure that the front and back office sound, I think, is very important. That's going to be done through the provision of technical assistance, which is something that we're going to look to continue to do and expand over the course of the next few years.
Well, I know that we will certainly make an effort to participate because I mentioned that we had been away for a little while. But I see all the positives in networking and meeting other small business owners, minority business owners, getting guidance from the council and the corporate members. Because I think we, like many other small businesses, the challenge is often, if you're talking to larger companies, the easiest thing for them to say is, oh, you're too small. And so
Right.
it's really a matter of how do you scale slowly over time so that you can qualify for those bigger opportunities. And
Exactly.
And even when I attended the MBE annual meeting that you had, it was very helpful meeting some of my fellow minority-owned businesses because we compare notes and we've had some chats afterwards. Really sharing experiences and giving
Right.
each other tips, and I think there's tremendous value there.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because that's the purpose of it. I keep telling folks, and I tell them all the time, that you come to these events and you're going to meet somebody that you wouldn't meet in your office, and hopefully the person or people that you meet, maybe one or two of them may be people that you can do business with, or people who can tell you about an opportunity or an idea that may help enhance your business. Or you may be able to tell somebody about something that's going to enhance their business. I mean, that's how we we like things to continue to work and flow, and that's why we hold the events we do, and we try to do the technical assistance that we're beginning to increase, and hopefully it'll be those things that will allow a lot of our suppliers to be able to continue to grow and develop their businesses and put themselves in a position where they're procurement ready, so that when opportunities do come up, they're able to take advantage of them.
Well, there's real value there because so many of those things, they don't necessarily teach you in the classroom. They don't teach you that in school.
Right.
And those are important lessons.
Right. It's kind of stuff that you learn by being involved in doing. As you are moving forward and you're involved in different things and you meet different people, you hope that the experiences and information you get enhance what you're doing from a business standpoint.
Well, the School of Hard Knocks makes us all better.
Yes, it does.
So, Terrence, as to wrap up, where can people find you, and where are the resources online? Where do you like to point people to learn more?
A lot of the information that we have is on our website, which is www.nynjmsdc.org. It talks about the programs that we have. It has information on our corporate members, the events that we are going to undertake if people are looking to get certified. Our certification and recertification information is on our website. That would be the best place for people to look. And it also has my information, and you can certainly contact me directly.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. And as a minority-owned business that's certified ourselves, I absolutely give you guys the testimonial that other minority businesses should go through that process. And we appreciate all the great things that you're doing.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I greatly appreciate having this time to talk with you.
Thank you, Terrence.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. What were your favorite inspired money moments? Here were some of mine. You've got to enjoy what you do. Terrence said it's in his nature to help people. It makes him feel good. He said, if you have a job, you should enjoy it. Otherwise, it becomes drudgery. He definitely enjoys what he does and thinks that helps him a lot. Then being visible and connecting with people is extremely important. Go to events, go to industry meetings, get out and meet people. He said people need to know you, then hopefully they get to like you, and then they get to trust you. Those are the people you do business with. Most people don't do business on a long-term basis with strangers or people they don't like. You break it down and you're dealing with humans. That is so true. It sounds simple, but this is such great advice to live by. Then finally, a growing business can provide a powerful platform. More than just dollars and cents, businesses can help revitalize or stabilize a community by creating jobs and becoming an integral part of a community. That was definitely inspired. Coming up next time on Inspired Money.
Of course, Mrs. Roosevelt was talking to all these people and moving through the crowd and everything. And finally she came to Juliet and she knew who she was and said, Mrs. Hollister, is there anything I can do for you? And so Juliet rolled out her design of her Temple of Understanding and explained the idea to Eleanor Roosevelt. And Eleanor Roosevelt totally got the idea and loved it. And she said to Juliet, because she was at that time working so closely with the United Nations, she said to Juliet, well, this is like a spiritual UN you're trying to create. This is wonderful. I mean, we really need a spiritual perspective.
That's Allison Van Dyke, the executive director of the Temple of Understanding, talking about founder Juliet Hollister, whose mission was to bring together leaders of the world's major religions. She befriended the Pope, the Dalai Lama, First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, and so many others. The need for dialogue among people from different religions and cultures feels as important and necessary today as when this organization was founded in 1960. Thanks for listening. Before you go, I just want to thank everyone who has left a rating and review for this podcast at iTunes. I love reading these, and I wanted to share a couple with you. JB Chunky said, "Glad I discovered this inspiring podcast. Can't wait for more episodes." Then Kaimana Slack said, "Fantastic interviews. Andy's guests are really interesting. It's obvious that Andy does a lot of research and gets his guests engaged and talking, Some very cool stories here, and well worth subscribing. Well, thank you so much for that. I'm going to be entering you into a contest where I'm going to draw a name to win an autographed CD of the latest album by Jim Kimo West and Ken Emerson. If you haven't left a review yet, please rate, review, and subscribe by going to inspiredmoney.fm/iTunes. For show notes and guest links, go to inspiredmoney.fm/004. Inspired Money is brought to you by my company, Runnymede Capital Management, a fiduciary investment advisor. We advise businesses, individuals, and families on their investments and retirement accounts. Educate yourself for free by subscribing to our blog at inspiredmoney.fm. All the music on today's show is by Jim Kimo West. Want to be an inspired moneymaker? Do something that scares you. Do something that's going to make you better. Do something to give back in a bigger way to the world. Tweet me what you're doing. Until next time, find your inspiration and run with it.